Okay, today's video, we're going to talk about the engaged shopper audience or targeting type, however you want to refer to it on Facebook, that gets you people that supposedly are, buyers of products in order so that you, as a Facebook advertiser, can get out in front of them specifically with your Facebook ads. I'm going to go over, basically what this is, what it means, what kind of results it gets with the split testing that we did to find out if this actually was productive for our clients where we wanted to test it out. And then of course, I'm going to give you some alternatives other than just using this engaged shopper targeting type or audience type, given it doesn't really work that great, hence kind of sucks being in the title. There's certainly a better way to go about advertising on Facebook using targeting that's not directly in the Facebook account that you're going to have available to you by default, but can come up with it, creating a custom audience that essentially does what the engaged shoppers is trying to do, at Spirit, but done at a much higher and better level. So with that said, I will get directly into the content. First of all, what is this engaged shopper audience type? So what it's supposed to be, certainly, what Facebook says it is, it's people who clicked on a Shop Now button in the last 7 days or last week on Facebook. So if you have a ad where the call to action is Shop Now, they're collecting the data on all the people clicking Shop Now on all their advertisers' ads. And then grouping it all together, and that's this engaged shopper audience type, okay? So that's pretty simple what it is. Now, is it productive? Is it profitable? The reason why, so the answer is sort of in some instances. I'll give you the exact instances where we found it is profitable, and it should be profitable for you if you fit that business type. But the reason why this isn't very effective more so is there's a better route to be able to target active buyers. Now, there certainly is something to be said about, with your advertising, trying to target buyers, not just targeting people who might be interested in your products, but people who are active buyers of the type of products you sell, i.e., they're buying all kinds of presumably dumb shit out there that they don't need because they just like buying. They're addicted to shopping. Shopping gives them a boost of dopamine. There's certain people where this is certainly the case. Those are the people you want to go after if you sell a consumer good, because the type of people that fit into that category is going to convert at a much higher rate when offering them whatever you have to sell versus the average person who might think your stuff's interesting but isn't falling into that category. And the way that you could do that is going after these outside lists of people who are buyers, active buyers in your industry or product, the category of e-commerce that you fall into. You can upload those lists as a custom audience on Facebook and then target people not just that are clicking on the Shop Now button, but are active actual buyers, and not just buyers and people who like buying, but buying already in your category. You could certainly do it at that. Targeting at that level using outside email lists and creating custom audiences, which I'll talk about in a minute. But the data itself, people clicking on the Shop Now button, isn't getting you much results, as it's not real purchase data. The holy grail on doing any online advertising or PPC would be targeting buyers, not people who look like buyers, if you will. What it does actually get you, i.e. these engaged shoppers that are clicking on the Shop Now button in the last week, is people though, so it does have some benefit in that it gets you people that are statistically less likely to ignore ads as a whole. There's certain people, I make fun of this all the time. If you go into any video on YouTube and about online advertising or any blog or article where there's comments, you'll see everybody says, who clicks on online advertising? I've never bought anything from an online ad. I hate online ads. I don't know why they have them. They don't work. Who buys from them? And the reality is there's only a $300 billion a year market in online advertising, and supposedly according to everybody who hates advertising, which is basically everybody, or online advertising, because everybody who advertises online generally does it in such a sloppy way that the ads are not matched up to what people need and want to see, and would, where ads would be useful for them, like we're doing on this channel. With that said, they just think that these ads don't work, and they certainly obviously work. They want to make you think that, basically all us people spending money on online advertising, particularly, outside of like the search engines, it doesn't work. In reality, it works. They just don't want to basically admit that, advertising can influence them, even though something they hate, which is these online banner ads on Facebook and other places online, it does influence their search behavior, their buying behavior, and they do buy from them. And so basically, with that though, within that, general category, everybody hates Facebook and other online banner advertising. In general, they hate online advertising. There certainly is a divide in there. There's certain people who basically hate it, the online ads to such a level that they actually mostly won't click on an ad. Occasionally they will. And then there's people who are kind of indifferent to it. They don't like the advertising, but they're, fall into the category that, they'll click on an ad if it's interesting. And so what this Shop Now button clickers as a whole, or engaged shoppers, which is the Shop Now button clickers on Facebook, what that gives you is somebody who shows you that they're in that camp of people that are kind of indifferent to clicking on ads versus absolutely hate ads so much that they just won't click on an ad almost ever unless the ad is amazing, if you will. So it's separating the people, the worst of the worst people that you don't want to target with your ads, out of being able to see your ads. Therefore, your engagement rate on your ad will go up, and it certainly does go up. When tested, this engaged shopper audience type for a women's clothing brand that we work for currently, we got the click-through rates on our ads up around 60%, which sounds good at the surface, but the ROI of the campaign only as a whole went up about 10%, or target ROAS if you want to refer to it that way. Why? Because due to the high CPM rates in which this audience type, specifically engaged shoppers audience type, has and is involved with it. So CPM, that's cost per thousand, or cost per 1,000 times that your ads show. So on Facebook, of course, we're paying per click generally, but it all backs out to cost per 1,000 ad impressions. So if you get a high click-through rate, you're going to have lower cost per click because you're getting more out of each time the ad shows. Really, what it comes down to, advertising on Facebook as well as anywhere else online, you're paying to have your ad show a set amount of times, and you're paying a certain amount per 1,000 times that the ad shows up. That's how the ad industry works. And so with that, depending on the audience that you're marketing to, that cost per 1,000 times the ad shows up varies based upon the market rate and the demand for that ad spot that'll get you in front of a certain crowd of people or a certain group of people itself. And to get in front of these engaged shoppers that Facebook has so kindly singled out for us, to get the people who, like I said, basically hate ads so much they'll never ever click on one. Basically, they've singled that out so that we can take advantage of targeting people that are, okay with clicking on an ad if it's good enough. But at the same time, since they singled that out and everybody sees that, and it's fairly easy to find when you go to search for audiences to target or targeting options to target within your Facebook campaign, it's been bid up in cost. The more people that see it, the more people that use it, the higher the cost per 1,000 times your ad will show up for that particular audience type, engaged shoppers audience type, to the point where it becomes effectively null in what it can provide for you. And this goes, similarly with any online advertising. If there's a underpriced attention out there, as Gary Vee refers to it. If there's underpriced attention somewhere online where you can advertise for lower than average rates of what it usually costs to advertise online to a certain group of people, it'll stay that way as long as people then will eventually figure it out. And then once that people have figured it out, people, it's past the stage where people, haven't really tested it out yet, and people have tested it out, and the word's out, and people have written articles about it, and it's common knowledge, the returns are similar to all the other stuff in that market when you're doing, average advertising or pitches with, advertising in those areas. And so that's what happened with this. Essentially, the cost per 1,000 advertisements shown to the engaged shoppers audience has went up enough to where even though your click-through rates are going to go up 60% or thereof, you're not actually going to make any more money, or maybe a little bit more money like we did here with this female clothing brand that we represent. So it's not as exciting as you think. But the idea is good. It is a more productive audience. It's just more expensive because it's been around for a while and other advertisers have picked up on it. We ran also a test on this engaged shoppers audience to a high-end jeweler, where in that particular instance, we actually had a negative ROI. A negative ROI of negative 10%. So the ROI actually went down by 10% using this engaged shoppers audience type with that jeweler brand that we were representing, which sells wedding rings and the like. Like your typical, like jeweler, like Kay's Jewelers and stuff like that, which wasn't a national chain. It was just more so it's still a national company, but not a big brand that you would normally think of. But anyway, with that, the engaged shoppers audience type didn't really help out. And I am going to, obviously this is my personal opinion here. I don't have proof of this, but I'm going to say having the ability to target people who we know are more click happy or willing to click on ads isn't going to help us so much when we're talking about products that have a very low uptake rate when people see the ads. When you're doing advertising for people that want to buy wedding rings, you can narrow down your targeting to people that are, likely to need and want an engagement ring, for instance. But even within that, you're hoping for a fraction of a fraction of a fraction of a percent to be it's the right time, it's the right ring for the right person, all that. And just knowing that somebody's willing to click on an ad at a higher rate isn't giving you that much more of an advantage than a new kitchen appliance that's really cool, which anybody who, basically has, everybody has a kitchen, everybody wants to be able to, let's say you're selling a blender, everybody wants to blend, their smoothies quicker, faster, better. That's the type of, and it's an impulse type of buy, even though it's a $50 item, it's still an impulse buy. Knowing that you're advertising in front of some people that don't have to put a lot of thought into deciding, they see something, they want it, that's going to work better for an impulse buy than something that's going to be a bigger decision. So whereas you're selling a more expensive product, there's more work to be put in to find what's the right, specific audience of people who is likely to be shown to be interested in that product more so than having the product shown to a mass kind of scale audience, but and with that would be boosted by people who normally piss their money at a moment's notice on things like a blender, if you get my point. So on the more expensive items, if you will, I haven't done a lot more testing than this, even though I would like to prove this out more. I don't like to waste too much more money, our clients' money on this particular engaged shoppers audience, but we have used it a few times on lower price items, and we've gotten a little bit of a boost for other companies other than this clothing brand. I haven't used it for more expensive product types since and when we had that loss for that jeweler I was just mentioning here. But I'm going to say if we were to test it a few more times, I'm 90% plus confident here that if we did it for somebody selling more expensive goods to more affluent people, if you will, or more expensive goods in general, that this would continue to not perform as well, because we're now paying more money for the same eyeballs, but not getting the same kind of uptake, if you will, because the item is a niche item for people that, it's not an impulse buy. So in other words, it's not something you see and want right away. Therefore, getting somebody who is known to be somebody who likes buying things, it's not going to help us as much unless it is an item that you could just impulse buy, if you follow my kind of train of thought here. So anyway, that's the data that we had from our particular clients testing this out. Now, I mentioned before, this whole idea, engaged shoppers, it's a good idea, but the main problem with it is, well, A, because the cost went up on it, so any benefit you get from it is mostly nullified by the higher cost of advertising to that specific audience. But it's not actual real purchase data. It's just people who click the Shop Now button. So we don't know if it's somebody who just likes clicking the ads and looking at landing pages, or is it people who like the clicking on to shop on people's advertisers' websites and actually go through with the purchase, therefore the type of person who's just like shopping, if you will. A much better idea would be to, if we can, which we certainly can, which I'm going to explain how, target people who actually we know do buy. They are an impulsive buyer who likes to buy things and likes to shop and all that, because we got inside knowledge on the purchase behavior from people that we can target, not just seeing if people went to the landing pages. So we're going to get more accurate data, in other words, going after people we know bought versus people who clicked on the Shop Now button. This is actually possible through there's many places that actually do this, but there's list brokers out there where if you just want to get a list of people who have made several purchases in the past, several online purchases specifically, you can get those lists and specifically get an email list of people who bought online in the last 7 days or bought multiple times in the last 30 days, and then take that email list and bring it on to Facebook, and through having a custom audience, just target those people specifically. And one company where you can go and do that is called Nextmark. You can type in Nextmark email lists, and they have a search engine there, and you can find people who bought multiple times in the last 30 days online and use that as a way to boost your campaign. And with that in and itself, yes, the cost per click is going to go up a little bit because naturally those people are going to be on other more expensive lists, if you will, and the cost of marketing to those people should be a little bit higher. But because it's not a default advertising option on Facebook, it's not going to be bid up like the engaged shoppers audience list was. And that's why I explained the whole mechanics about the price and all that to you, because in other words, you can get a better deal, you can pay less per click and get a more qualified audience going offline and going to a company like Nextmark to get verified purchaser lists. You'll get a better list with more targeted, more people that we know are actual buyers, and for less money per click and less money per time the ad shows, or less money per impression, in other words, is what that's called. And therefore get a better bang for our buck, a better ROI from our ad spend on Facebook, because we're taking that list from Nextmark, bringing it on Facebook, and then using that to target our campaigns instead of this engaged shoppers audience list. So, and when with that, the cost to be able to do this, so you are paying more per time the ad shows or per impression using the engaged shoppers audience list, as I mentioned. It's around 50% higher cost per impression just having to where you want the engaged shoppers list as well. So if you're targeting people who like football and then they want them to be engaged shoppers, you can assume if they have to be both, you're going to pay about 50% more per click. That's about what it averages out to. If you go to that company, one of these outside list brokers out there, one of which is Nextmark that I use when we do stuff like this, you can expect to pay about 20 cents per email address to be able to get yourself a list of people who are known buyers in the last 30 days. We, in this situation, are going to go for people that are what they call like a hot list. People that have bought online multiple times in the last 30 days. That's somebody who likes to buy, and not only that, has shown evidence that they are a person who's buying. They're in a, we call it, they're in heat. They're in heat for buying shit online, and so they'll buy. They have much higher likelihood of buying anything that you put in front of them. So that's and very much so because they have made multiple purchases. We would want them. We're going to pay about 20 cents per name per email address to have us to create a separate targeted list on Facebook that we can target like that. And then with that, if we're selling something that is targeted to people who like football, we can target people that like football, and then also are people who have bought multiple times, verified multiple purchases online in the last 30 days, and then the likelihood that our campaign is going to convert, it just skyrockets at that point. That is a really good method. But of course, like I said, you have to pay 20 cents per name. So ultimately, your cost per impression is going to go up if you look at it. If you consider the opportunity cost of marketing to somebody who's a verified buyer, a multi-buyer in the last 30 days. But these people are so much more likely to purchase than the average person who isn't a verified multi-buyer in the last 30 days that generally speaking, it's going to work out to your favor still. Somebody who's bought at least 2 times in the last 30 days online versus the average person is going to basically buy at 10 times the likelihood or rate of your average person who is in your targeted list of people that you want to target on Facebook. So even if you're paying 20 cents per name, it's still worth it at the end of the day to target them. And not only that, of course, but it's 20 cents per name. You can have that ad if you have a really good, offer, and you only have, basically you can target them 7, 10, 15 times probably before the ad, you reach saturation with that audience, if you will. Essentially, at 20 cents, if you look at it per impression, you show the ad to them 10 times. The cost per impression to have the email address from Nextmark that verifies that this is a verified purchaser is only going to be 2 cents extra per impression. And it is actually somewhat of a significant extra cost, but it's still not more than what you're going to gain by knowing that person's a verified multi-buyer online and get that 10x more likelihood that that person's going to, that person's going to be willing to buy your offer than not. And at the very least, you should be trying this out for yourself. Not in every market will it pay off, but certainly in any situation where you're selling to it, this is more of an impulse buy, I highly recommend doing it. Just like the engaged shoppers audience works for consumer goods and impulse buys, targeting people that are known online purchasers in the last 30 days and bought multiple times, it's the same thing. You're getting a person who likes spending their money online, likes buying things online, generally will help give you a boost in those situations. So there you go. But that's not it. There's one other thing that you can do to take this concept even further here, which I'll mention. You don't have to just target people that are known multi-buyers, people who have bought multiple times in the last 30 days online to sell an online good to a person to try to make a campaign work. You can actually go to companies like Nextmark, as I mentioned, these list brokers, and get known buyers of people who bought stuff in your actual exact business category. So in the female clothing space, we can get known buyers who have bought clothing in the last 30 days online. Or we can get people who have bought female clothing from a big and tall store in the last 30 days. To get more specific, if you're in a broad category like apparel, you can get super specific buying lists like that. And so with that, that can be, again, a fantastic way to narrow down all the people on Facebook that you want to target. That normally it's tough to get a return on Facebook for something like that. But once you narrow it down to known multi-buyers, people who have bought multiple times in your exact category in the last 30 days, essentially from, it could be offline competitors or whatever there, but it becomes real productive real quick. The key to any Facebook and any online advertising that you're going to do all comes down to being able to get the targeting refined enough to where after it's refined enough, you make money. Weeding out all the people that wouldn't buy. Once you get down to people that would buy, the likelihood that each person on that list is so high that they're going to be willing to buy that the cost of the advertising just becomes affordable. So, and that's generally the toughest part. Of course, it's hard to make a good ad and a good offer and a good landing page, but beyond that, it's all about how can I find that perfect combination of targeting options to get me that somebody, or get me a list ultimately that at least 1% of the people on that list would buy if we shown them this offer on this ad and this landing page. And if you can generally get there, your campaign will be profitable. So what combination of targeting options do we need? And one extremely effective tool to do that is just find the list of somebody who's bought from a direct or indirect competitor in the last 30 days, particularly if they bought multiple times, and then just using that to steer your campaigns. You could just target those people by themselves, the people who have bought from a direct or indirect competitor in the last 30 days. Or you could use it to, again, narrow down. So if you're targeting people, again, who likes football, like with the example I gave before, you could make sure, yes, people who like football see your offer, but only if they're on these, if they're on this verified purchaser list who's bought, let's say, a football-related item online in the last 30 days. If you're wondering why and how these purchase lists exist at a company like Nextmark, it's, a company like you can sell their customer lists. You can go to Nextmark and say, hey, I have a company that sells a football memorabilia or whatever. And how much will you give me for feeding you my customer list that I have of 10,000 names? And when I get new customers coming in every 30 days, sending you through an API or some connection with your company, send you all the customers that we have, and they'll give you a rate. And then basically how it works is every time that through because their Nextmark is like a middleman, each time that they can sell your customer list to somebody else, they'll get a piece, you'll get a piece. And it's another side income for what you had to do is basically nothing. And then why would they do that? Getting money from customers, so you could try to sell more to your customers, and you can let other people try to sell more to your customers. And for what other people can sell more to your customers, you get a piece of that. That makes it, that's giving you that much more ammo, i.e. and money and profit to be able to get the customers in the first place. So if you get extra money on the back end there, you can actually spend more for a customer than you could before, which gives you more opportunities to advertise than you had before, which gives you more opportunity to make more top-end revenue and therefore profit than you had before. It's a passive way to earn money. You don't have to do anything. Once the customer comes in, somebody else rents it. Typically, those lists are supposed to be used for like email campaigns and like direct mail campaigns and stuff, but I've been using it for a long, long time now to power remarketing campaigns or just prospecting, or basically first click, or what we call prospecting campaigns, where you're not marketing to somebody who's been to your site or before, or a customer. It's somebody who hasn't heard of you before on Facebook, on Google Display Network, on AdRoll, and other places that accept actual email lists to use as a targeting option or targeting method to advertise in front of people online, if you will. So that's basically where they come from. And so that's basically the deal on that. As you know, you of course can take, if you wanted to take one step further with that concept I gave you, you can also take, find all the verified purchasers of people through these list brokers that your competitors are selling their customer lists, or indirect competitors are selling their customer lists, if you will, to these list brokers. You get their customer list. You can take that customer list of known buyers in the last 30 days, give it to Facebook and say, I want people that look like the customer list, and then your lookalikes targeting can get that much more precise. That's a whole nother, can of worms, if you will. So, but basically just know, as it comes to, engaged shoppers, going full circle here, the closer the time has been from the time that the person's made their purchase, if you're trying to target these people that buy a lot online, if you will, the sooner it's been since that person's made those purchases, and the more purchases that they've made, the more profitable that audience as a whole, or concept as a whole, to target, you're going to be and have, essentially. So your goal would be to target somebody who, in the last 30 days has made 5 purchases online, because that person's like hot and bothered to spend, all their money on online purchases. 5 would be better than 4, 4 would be better than 3. And then of course, if those 5 purchases are in the last 7 days, that's a hell of a lot better than the last 30 days, because they're that much more likely to buy anything you have to put in front of them. So, and as you go to these list brokers, they'll actually let you decide, do you want people who bought in the last 30 days? That's the list you want. You don't want old customer data if you're going to do this. This thing I mentioned to you, targeting, other people's customer lists. And you want people who bought multiple times, not just once. Because somebody who bought once, that could be a fluke. Somebody who bought 3 times in the last 30 days, that person's totally ripe for the taking there, basically. So anyway, that's the whole thing in a nutshell. I know I went over a whole lot of other stuff other than just what the engaged shopper's targeting option there is on Facebook. But like I said, it can work. It can give you a little bit of a bump, but you can get it a way bigger of a bump doing the same thing that these engaged shoppers that Facebook has lined up for you, and targeting option is there for you to use. Doing the same thing with customer lists and uploading your own list to Facebook. It's less competitive, more profitable, actually more scalable. So I'll wrap it up with that. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up / like it, as I'd really appreciate you doing that and help get the video out there for other people like yourself to be able to see the video and help our channel grow. And beyond that, if you like the content here, you should really consider subscribing to the channel, as we have a ton of content on this channel about other money-making methods related to PPC, where we've tested things at our PPC agency and we're giving it to you on this channel. All the stuff that's working and we come up with, and our new things that are going to work in the future, you'll be able to have it first here as we find out about those things on this channel. We also, of course, share with you the stuff that doesn't work or stopped working, so you don't have to do all this crazy testing for yourself. You have the working methods given to you basically on a silver platter. Beyond that, I have a blog at guaranteeppc.com/blog with step-by-step instructions on how to build PPC campaigns the way that we build them here at our agency to guarantee our clients results, literally speaking. If you want to learn how to build campaigns on a more step-by-step basis, like we do here and in which I mentioned on this video here, you can find it there as well. If you have any questions about anything I covered here, leave me a comment below. I get back to every single person, and usually that leaves a comment usually within a couple days' time. I do want to shout out a brand new service that we are offering at our PPC firm, Guarantee PPC, where we're offering turnkey, proven, multi-million-dollar a year PPC campaigns here for our clients that want to be able to essentially take the campaign that's working in one market for one client and use it in another market where there's no conflict and just get the same results that you're getting there, i.e. client A, and that's a carpenter in one market in San Francisco, is making $3 million a year from a PPC campaign that we built for them. You want to open up a carpentry business in Phoenix, or just open a business and just outsource the work to somebody else and just have a website. You could use the exact same campaign, the guy that we had been helping in San Francisco in Phoenix, and get the same results, get the same multi-million-dollar a year sale, PPC campaign that's just churning out profit for you there without having to do any of the work, and without having to spend all the money that essentially was spent to be able to figure out the perfect configuration for that campaign in that market. We give you the exact campaigns, the exact landing pages, and we show you the exact results that you can get with that campaign before starting that up for your own company or starting that business up for yourself. We also have product campaigns where companies that we've worked with have a campaign that was working. They found another better working campaign. They stopped using the previous campaign, which was profitable, just not as profitable as something else. And you can use that campaign because nobody's using it anymore. Acquire those same products and start up a great little side business for yourself, or just in general, a business that can do better than maybe even your own business that you're running now. Just get into a new market. Given that the hardest part mostly with selling products is getting a PPC campaign to work, you can start with a proven campaign right from the start and just build your whole business around the campaign, if you will. Anyway, if you're interested in that type of thing, reach out to my firm. We have a lot of different campaigns and from a lot of different markets where we can essentially give you a turnkey business in a box if you're interested in that type of thing. So with that said, I'll wrap it up with that though. Hope you enjoyed. Hope to see you on my next video where we have another great strategy for you there. See you then.